Hello, and welcome to Between Two Taps. I'm your host, Taylor. We've got Dan Jiggins here. Dan, how are you today?
I'm hanging in there.
I have one question for you. What time is it, Mr. Wolf?
I'm going to have to ask Mr. Wolf.
Lunchtime.
It's lunchtime. Of course.
So Dan is with Lunchtime Studios. We're going to talk about his game Lords of New York. So why didn't you make the game about the peasants of New York?
Well,
I mean, they're in the Harlem.
that's true. I mean, that's the things that the 30s would have been a little more appropriate for that, but the 20s were things are up and coming. So
You know from experience you were there.
yeah, I feel like it was.
Okay, so let's talk about Lords of New York a little bit. What's the game like?
So if you've seen the movie, like the closest analogy I have is if you've seen the movie Rounders, Matt Damon.
Oh yes, Matt Damon. He was really good and stuck on you.
yeah, a little bit like that, right? So
definitely his best film.
So the idea is that we want to put story around poker. So and we want you to make it feel like Matt Damon, because like who doesn't want to feel like Matt Damon? This one we give you abilities like cheat, intimidate, stuff like that, because you're a gangster guy, right?
Yeah.
So when you play poker, you're awesome at poker. But when you're not playing poker, it's the whole story. So you actually get accused of murder, and you go to jail, and you're like, I didn't do it. I'm a mobster, right? So you're trying to get out of jail, playing poker in prison for toilet paper and all that sort of stuff. That's like necessities there.
You have body language mechanics?
Yes.
How does that work?
So we actually invented a whole 2D animation tech for this. What we want to do is, people read body language all the time, but we don't realize it. And what I want to do is to say, how can we make characters a richer experience without people even knowing? Not saying like, look at that guy, he's like doing something, and you recognize it. We want to incorporate these subtle things that communicate to the gamer, like a level, be like, I really like that character, and I don't even know why. So, I feel like it hasn't been done well or enough in games to say like, well, let's put the body language research into our characters, and just as a layer, that it's not like the core mechanic, it's just in there to enhance the experience. There's a lot of life in high-end 2D, and so that was what we wanted to do. Is like it sounds funny, but we want to be like the Pixar of 2D games. We want to be like really high-end story-based 2D games that are
That's
just
awesome. The transition between AAA and indie, like how did you make that decision?
Well, it's kind of made for me, right? So from Boston, like 2000s, early 2000s were great, and the bottom dropped out, and like companies collapsed all over the place for games in Boston. So I went into science software and started this at night with my wife. So we just we're passionate about doing circuit-based games. In fact, the original Metal Gear Solid was a lot of the inspiration. It like ruined games for me for a while, right? So we want to ruin games for people for a while in 2D. Like that was it. It was so good.
Evil.
Yes, it was so good that like we said that's the kind of experience we want to give to people. It's that same thing we got in Metal Gear Solid 1. So what we want to do is to be a AAA entity in the indie scene and help students coming out of school, like train them to be great artists. Because we have a lot of artists who work at like Target and things like that. Like they're just out of school, and they get off of school and you fall off the cliff. I mean, it's a really hard business. So our art director, worked with AAA games, and he's now an art teacher, so he helps.
Bring talent
exactly.
in.
Not just that, but train them to like, here's how you be great.
Yeah. So what do you wish you knew day one that you know now?
In games?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So, I mean, the thing I always instill in our staff is like the hard work and how you come from nothing, right? So, like, you think you're not good in school or something, but it's nothing to do with like where you'll end up. It's all about your passion. So, like, that's probably what I tell kids is like, take every chance of an opportunity you have, and like, it's a gift. You gotta like run with it.
When is it coming out?
August of 2016. So, we want to make sure it's like super awesome. Like it will take the time it needs to take to make sure it comes out and it's right.
Sounds good. Can you give us your best poker, please?
Oh gosh. No.
You're all about the body language.
No, I'm like, oh, I don't know what emotion I'd add.
Well,
I
I
give
guess
lots of funny
that's
faces.
it. Okay. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been Between Two Taps.
Thank you. I need cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I need them. It's like this currency.